We thank thee, Lord, for happy hearts, for rain and sunny weather. We thank thee, Lord, for this our food and that we are together. Dear God Most High, hear and bless thy beasts and singing birds, and guard with tenderness small things that have no words. Welcome back to Deep in Bear Country, a Berenstain Bearcast. I am your host, Phil Gonzalez, and this week we're exploring another religious book, one that came out a couple of years back that has a little bit of a drama, a little bit of a, I don't know how you say, a little, like there's an epic tale behind the publication of this book that I've discussed previously in older episodes, but I'll give you a little rundown because this is an exciting book to cover in a way. It's not the most exciting book in the world, but it's a good marriage of certain elements that haven't necessarily worked the way I believe they're supposed to, that have come together to make a conglomerate. I'm babbling. I'm just rambling on. This is 2018 and 2020, I believe's the Berenstain Bears, my bedtime book of poems and prayers, or also the Berenstain Bears little book of poems and prayers, or prayers and poems. This is the book that was originally published in 2018. But before it hit shelves or pockets or mailings, it got pulled. It got removed. It got just deleted from existence. And that caused a minor stir in the Berenstain Bears collectors group because everyone was like, wait, did everyone pre-order this? And did suddenly your order disappear? And like, that was weird. But also it was super strange because a few copies of the book did get delivered early and people ended up with those books, like this unpublished Berenstain Bears book. So that was odd. Now we were aware of it when it happened, and Mike was kind enough to send us PDF copies of the original book because there was no telling if the little book of poems and prayers was ever going to actually see the light of day. So this happened. 2 years later, it came out as my bedtime book of poems and prayers, and we were excited, and we all got copies of it. It's a board book, but it's a more complex book. It's not a simplistic book. It's exciting. Well, I mean, for Berenstain Bears people, it's exciting. But then in 2023, just last year, when I was doing some research on the religious board books that came out from, I believe, Worthy. I think Worthy is what it was called. I wrote to Mike and was like, so what's the story with these board books that I'd never heard of, but that are actually really good and that I really like? And he was like, well, I'll give you the rundown. He had said he was going to give me the rundown on why this book in particular was pulled, but we never got around to discussing it. So we finally covered it. And I think I talked about it last year on a show, but just to give you a really, really quick summary of what exactly happened with this. So there was a lot going on. Sterling Lord had been the Berenstain Bears agent since their first book, but as he got older, there were issues that arose. Despite the trend toward children's board books in the early 2000s, HarperCollins and Zondervan had shown an inconsistent interest in publishing children's board books. So in 2010, the Berenstains were like, we want to get new board books out there, but we don't have exclusivity rights. Like, they don't have exclusivity rights with us. We can seek other publishers to publish these books, but they wanted to avoid any kind of conflict with HarperCollins and Zondervan. So Mike, I believe, approached Ideals, a minor publisher that specialized in board books, and an agreement was reached. And HarperCollins was like, fine. But Zondervan didn't respond when they asked about it. But they were like, well, I think this is cool. I think it's okay. So they went ahead with the board book plan. They didn't know that there were conflicting grants of rights in their contracts. So in 2014, Sterling Lord retires, and Worthy Publishing acquires Ideals. Let me see. I think I'm getting this. I want to make sure this is going on. I'm going to simplify this. So Zondervan didn't respond. Later, Zondervan objected to the board books being published by Worthy. They saw them as competition. So the Berenstains proposed that HarperCollins and Zondervan jointly publish board books that led to the cancel the contract with Worthy. Then Zondervan announced the board book of prayers and poems, but then Worthy threatened legal actions due to rights violations. There's all this contractual stuff. The settlement led to the book's publication being canceled. Now, later, Worthy is acquired by Hachette, which freed up the board book rights again, and so the book was eventually published by HarperCollins and Zondervan. It was a legal quagmire, like this whole morass, and it's all tied in with the reasons that Mike left Zondervan and approached other publishers for the religious books. It's all contracts and misunderstandings and just attempting to get books out there that they think kids might want to read. And it just so happened that the book that was caught in the crossfire was this delightful little book of poems and prayers. Now, what exactly is the Berenstain Bears, My Bedtime Book of Poems and Prayers? It's exactly what you think it is. It's similar in some ways to the devotional we covered a couple of weeks ago, but it's not in the sense that the devotional felt only tangentially related to the Berenstain Bears. Like, it felt like a book published by the Berenstains, featured cartoons of the Berenstain Bears, but it didn't feel like the essence of the characters wasn't there. I didn't feel like I was getting a specifically Berenstain Bears book. My Bedtime Book of Poems and Prayers, however, is very specifically the Berenstain Bears. It's the Bear family. There are explicit references to characters, to situations, to the Cubs, to their family members in these poems, almost to the degree that you can't just use these poems as generic poems and prayers, because when they mention like my dog Snuff or whatever, it sort of takes you out of the, but it does make it wonderful that it is the Berenstain Bears Bedtime Book of Poems and Prayers. What also makes this wonderful is that this book is written, it's credited to Stan and Mike Berenstain with Jan Berenstain, which I don't think we've ever seen before. And that's because the poems and prayers in this book, with the exception, I think, of only the first one, the one that I read up top, were all written by Mike or Stan. So this was like Stan Berenstain writings that got to see the light of day after his death. And there's some delight. Remember, this man was a lyricist. This man was a musical theater guy. And there are rhythms and internal rhymes in some of these poems that aren't obvious. They don't sound like your typical just like couplets or like, like A, B, A, B, or A, A, B, B, A. It's not all like that. There's some unusual rhythms. There's some unusual rhymes, things that I actually appreciate. And I think that these poems and prayers are kind of delightful in a very, even in a secular way. That's it. I just find it exciting. Let's take a look at this book though, because I mean, yes, it recycles older art from other stories, which is something that sometimes doesn't work, but that works a lot better in this case than in some of the past examples we've had. It's not arbitrary. It doesn't seem arbitrary like it does in some of the other books. They chose some great images. They chose some great classic Berenstain art from several different eras, as they are apt to do. And yeah, so I'm using the digital copy that I have. I also have a physical copy. Don't know where it is. Don't know where it is, my friends. It's lost to the ages, apparently. I looked at all my Berenstain Bears book tubs. Can't find it at all. It's somewhere around here. No, it's not on the floor. No, I don't see it. It's not around. Well, let's take a look inside this edition, though. The digital edition is very nice. It's formatted just like the book itself. So we'll take a look at that. So the opening prayer is called Joyful Prayer Traditional. And you just got a nice little like outdoor family picnic dinner scene. We got Mama and Papa. We've got Grizzly Gramps and Gran. We've got Honey and we've got Honey, definitely. And there's some other bears there, but I don't actually, or is that Preacher Brown? That might be Preacher Brown. I don't know. We've got a bunch of bears and a very worried bee. We've got a table with salad and hamburgers and mashed potatoes, ears of corn, and a pitcher of lemonade. Looks like a pretty nice spread. And we say the joyful prayer, thank thee, Lord, for happy hearts and the food and the stuff and the thing. It's a nice little poem. It's not very Berenstain-y because it's a traditional prayer, but we skip right. The next thing is a poem about butterflies. It's by Mike Berenstain, and this one's also a little non-specific as far as character goes, but God made butterflies yellow and blue, white and orange, purple too. He made them to sit around on flowers. They sit on flowers for hours and hours. They suck up nectar and bask in the sun. That's a butterfly's idea of fun, but that's not God's plan for me and you. He has other tasks for us to do. Now, what I like about these poems is there's a real sense of whimsy and fun and curiosity about the world in them that I didn't see in the far longer and far more explicit Book of Devotions. There's the lyricism and the rhymes and the rhythms of these poems it rings as more of a celebration of the world than the whole book of devotionals did. And you have this spread on the left. I think it's from the Nature Walk, it's a religious book where their Sunday school teacher takes them all out on a walk to go explore nature. And it's just the shots of them with the butterflies, and there's a nice spread of bear country. I don't know. It's a really nicely arranged series of images on the left side to illustrate the butterflies poem by Mike Berenstain. The next poem is called School Prayer. This one's got some funny stuff in it. It's got a picture of Bear Country School and the Cubs arriving. It says, please, this is by Mike. It says, please, Lord, help me on my way to school. Don't let me be late or start to fool around in puddles beside the path. Help me get good grades in math. Forbid delay from a crossing train. Please get me down to Spruce and Maine, where the schoolhouse rises, somewhat grim, the realm of teachers, tests, and gym. And so, dear Lord, assist me on my way and get me through another day. And what I like about this poem is a little bit of bear country like geography. So apparently Spruce and Maine is where the schoolhouse is. I didn't know that. Bear Country School, it's on Spruce and Maine. Write that down. Somebody write that down so that we never forget it. I like that. It's a poem, it's a prayer, it's like, God, it's not like it's not grant me the strength to get to this or help me get good grades. It's like, just like, don't let me be late for school, keep the trains out of my way. I want to get good grades in math, but like I want to get to school on time, but also please be aware that there are things in school that I find intimidating, and I like that he uses the word grim, probably because it rhymes with Jim. But the poem is, don't just help me get to school, help me get through. I don't know, there's something funny about it, almost Shel Silverstein about it. It's a little less dark than Shel Silverstein, but there's that quality to it of just like, we acknowledge that this isn't your favorite thing in the world. We have a whole poem on creativity about God making the birds and the bugs, the walruses and the slugs. But it ends with, it seems like a lot of work for God, and no one helped him out. How odd. It's a joke. It's a quip at the end of a poem that would have delighted me as a child. I found these wry asides in children's poems to be very funny when I was a kid. This sort of like unexpected flip at the end, like we're delighted about the work that God did, and then you come down to it, nobody helped this guy out. It's weird. No one helped God out. Like, I mean, obviously you shouldn't have to. He's omniscient and omnipresent and infinite. But the idea of a child thinking that it's weird that nobody helped God create everything is, I mean, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. He had to take a nap. The guy's infinite, still had to take a rest for a whole day. That's nobody I know's rest for a day, so it must have been a lot of work. Then we get our first Stan Berenstain poem. Now, this is about parades, and this is not a religious poem at all, but it's very Stan, because it almost reads like a song. Hooray, hooray, today's the day. There's a movie called Johnny Suede, early indie film starring Brad Pitt, where Brad Pitt's character gets confronted by his landlord. He's a songwriter and he's a musician, and his landlord is confronting him for the rent, and he says something about like asking his landlord's like, maybe you'll understand it better if I tell it to you in song or something, and it starts off with, hey, today's the day when you pay. Those who pay get to stay. Those who don't pay have to pack up their, and then he swears, and move away. And the beginning of this poem, hooray, hooray, today's the day, the big parade is coming this way, just reminds me of that. So congratulations, Stan Berenstain. You invoked a relatively obscure Brad Pitt movie from the late 90s. Hooray, hooray, today's the day, the big parade is coming this way. Rum tum tum, we hear the sound of the big bass drum. Look, soldiers and sailors marching along with heads held high, so proud and strong. We all salute as flags go by, red, white, and blue against the sky. Have you ever seen anything quite so grand as an all-bear high school marching band? Hear the rah-de-rah of the slide trombone and the great oom-pa of the sousaphone. Oh, what a day this has been. At the end of the parade, we all join in. And what I like about this poem is Stan has captured the rhythms of a parade in the words. The rhythm of the marching, the rhythm of the band is present in soldiers and sailors marching along with heads held high, so proud and strong. There's a rat-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, like this triplet rhythm in I don't know what the pentameter would be called, but in the poem there's this da-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. We all salute as flags go by, red, white, and blue against the sky. Have you ever seen anything quite so grand as an all-bear high school marching band? It's just rat-ta-ta. I don't know. I really like the way I like Stan's lyrics. When he was on, he was on. I really wish I could have heard more. Well, I really wish we could have gotten more Stan Berenstain like lyrical content in the world, like even a non-Berenstain Bears Stan Berenstain musical. I would have just enjoyed seeing him working with a musician and a songwriter who could help sort of refine his lyrics into I don't know. I always respected the guy was a frustrated musical theater guy. And then there's a great image from the Berenstain Bears, the 4th of July parade, where Papa's in his like army uniform, because remember he's a veteran, I guess, saluting the fireworks. It's cool. I like it. We get a short picnic grace by Mike. Thank you, Lord, for blueberry pie and clouds up high. Thank you for lemonade and a stream to wade. So this is one of those poems that's not the rhythm's a little more broken up. Thank you, Lord, for blueberry pie and clouds up high. Thank you for lemonade and a stream to wade. I don't know what you call that. I'm not a poet, but I know there's a term for it. Thank you, Lord, for ham and cheese. I just love that he says thank you. So this is a very specific picnic. Thank you, Lord, for ham and cheese. Thanks, I guess, for ants and bees. That's that same aside, that same, like when you're a kid and you read this, you're not expecting internal commentary in the lyric, in the wording. Like that you suddenly get a sense of character. That's why I'm saying like these aren't generic prayers and poems. These are very Berenstain Bear. You get the sense of these are the Cubs saying this. Thanks, I guess, for ants and bees. Thank you for marshmallows to toast. Our Papa likes the burnt ones most. My question for you, and it calls out Papa. My question for you, dear listeners, is when toasting marshmallows, how burned do you like them? Do you like them crispy, crunchy on the outside and soft and gooey on the inside? Do you like the whole thing just lightly softened? Do you like the whole thing just on fire like a cinder? Let me know. What's your favorite state of mallow when roasting marshmallow? Then we have Tadpole Mystery. This one's delightful. Mike Berenstain, lover of nature, lover of animals, lover of science, writes a poem here. It's not a religious poem. It's just a poem about tadpoles. Tadpoles are really baby frogs who live in shallow ponds or bogs. They wiggle around in the mud all day, and what they do there I couldn't say. I like to catch them in a jar. Without a jar, they don't go far. Before too long, they turn into frogs, and then they go and sit on logs. But how that happens, I don't know. Somehow or other, they just grow. There's this sense of, it's called Tadpole Mystery. So there's a sense of mystery, but there's also this sense of wonderment, of exploration, of curiosity. It's the pre-scientific approach to nature. The first step is wondering how it happens and not being content. Like, I don't know how it happens. Somehow or other, they just grow. And you assume the next part of the narrative will be, and so let's find out. Like, let's go talk to actual factual. Let's read a book. Let's discover the process of a tadpole becoming a frog, biologically or otherwise. I don't know. There's something very, I find very, very Mike about this, very Berenstain Bears about this. You can see it like as the opening of a chapter about the biology of amphibians. I don't know, but it works for me. It works for me. I don't know. As you can probably tell right now, I'm a huge fan of my bedtime book of poems and prayers. As someone who is not religious and does not pray, I like this book. I like it a lot. It's short, but it's fun. We've got baseball prayer. I didn't even know that was a thing. Help me play. This one's Mike. It's all about playing a good game. Don't let me cast blame on my teammates when things go wrong. Help me out when the game goes long. So this is the acknowledgement that baseball is frequently a lot longer of a game than than you're anticipating. Help me out when the game goes long, way, way into the 12th or 13th inning, and not to worry about winning or losing or missing a fly ball or the ump's close call. After all, just having fun is what the game is all about. But please, dear Lord, don't let me strike out. And there's a picture of Freddie striking out a Cub on the other team, or maybe it's a Cub from the Sharks striking out I don't remember which team they're on. It's a bear striking out. But it's a delightful poem. It's like, it covers a lot of, no pun intended, bases. Don't let me cast blame on my teammates, for their mistakes. Give me the patience to sit through a longish game. Keep me from having to worry about winning. Just let me have a good time, because after all, that's why we're here. But also, please don't let me strike out. Like, help me save my dignity, but also help me have fun playing baseball, but also keep my temper even. I don't know. I think this is a good baseball prayer. If you're religious and you got to pray before a game, here's a good one. Questions. This one gets odd, and I really like it. So we've got a picture on the left of the creation myth, Adam and Eve, and all the animals looking out over a beautiful sky. In the middle, we've got, it's either actual factual, I think it's Ferdy factual, showing the Cubs his telescope and explaining something to brother. And then at the bottom, it's Honey, brother, and sister catching snowflakes, or like snowballs or bubbles on their tongue. I think it's supposed to be snowflakes on their tongues. And the poem is called Questions. It's by Mike, and it says, where do we come from? Where do we go? How do we get here? Why does it snow? How does the sun shine? Why do we sneeze? Do a grasshopper's legs have ankles and knees? What was God thinking when he made the giraffe? Did the archangels sing, or did everyone laugh? And how may we visit a land far away, where unicorns frolic and sea serpents play? And it's just a bunch of questions. And again, that's the thing. And I love that that the top is the myth of Adam and Eve. At the bottom is children enjoying nature. And in the middle is brother speaking to a character who is an avowed atheist, who is an atheist character canonically in the Berenstain Bears universe, and talking science with him, which is that whole Mike Berenstain thing of knowledge is knowledge. Acquirement of knowledge is acquirement of knowledge. Questions are questions. Curiosity is curiosity. Everybody has something to contribute to the neighborhood, and your community is made up of people of all different backgrounds, all different levels of experience, all different degrees of belief, and they are all worthy people. They're all valid people. You may not agree on everything, but the interrogation of nature and facts and questioning these things is natural and beautiful and worth talking about. And I love that this poem doesn't answer that. It's just questions. And it even says, how may we visit a land far away where unicorns frolic and sea serpents play? Maybe you can't actually do that, but the question is worth asking. That's a Mike thing that I've always appreciated. Is Mike solidly believes that questions are worth asking. It's the Berenstain way, let's say. And this is a poem all about that. Everywhere is a poem about God being everywhere, basically. God's in everything, across the hilltop, up on the tree, the dewdrop on the flower. The world that we see around us is good and sweet and fair, and is that any wonder when God is everywhere? And you got some great pictures of the Cubs just enjoying nature, and they're praying at dinner, and they're picking apples. It's just it's a sweet poem about that. And as we've read in a few of the religious books, Mike really focuses on like the omnipresence of the creator deity. So yeah, everywhere. We get just a simple grace. That isn't just about thanking people for this one gets really specific, because this is a Berenstain. You can't just say this at the table, because it says, thank you for the food we eat, thank you for a comfy seat, thank you for my favorite blankie, and for mama when I get cranky. Okay, is this from Honey's perspective? I don't know. It's thanks to you the sky is blue, and thanks to you for sunsets too, like those internal rhymes. Thank you for the fields so fertile, thank you Lord for Spud my turtle, which I can't. Okay, so if your child does not own a turtle named Spud, I would say that this specific grace will fall a little flat. I guess you can change it to a reference to like Squirtle, I guess. Thank you, Lord Squirtle. For Pikachu and Squirtle. I don't know. Charizard. I have no idea. I don't know anything about Pokemon. Work Squirtle in there. Then we get a little flashback to a Stan Berenstain poem. This is great too, because it's illustrated. The accompanying illustration is an older Berenstain Bears illustration. So we get this more classical drawing of brother and sister outside, touching fireflies, exploring. It's called Our Friend the Firefly. And it's a stand poem. As the sun sets and twilight comes and all nature hums and thrums. This is a great lyric. I love this next bit. So as the sun sets and twilight comes and all nature hums and thrums, a floating incandescent lamp without volt, without amp, comes winking, blinking in the sky. It's our friend, the firefly. Its million zillion points of light lighting up the summer night. But I want to point out that middle lyric. A floating incandescent lamp without volt, without amp, comes winking, blinking in the sky. It's our friend, the firefly. Its million zillion points of light lighting up the summer night. Just the consonants in that. Floating incandescent lamp without volt, without amp. Those T's, those P's, the MP, the sound, those hard T's, and then the next line, the winking, blinking, like you get this very hard consonant noise and then the winking, blinking. I don't know. That's lyrical. I just love that. For a children's book of poems and prayer, like I read that and my face lit up. I just found it delightful. Winking, blinking in the sky. It's our friend, the firefly. Again, it's not even a religious poem. It's just enjoy the outdoors. And I'm glad, again, we get a Stan Berenstain poem in there. We get something about the M-O-O-N. That spells moon. We get The Moon by Mike Berenstain. Moon. The moon is... This is great. So this is a funny one that, again, would have tickled my funny bone, as a child. The funny bone, the L bone, or whatever. I don't know. The funny bone. It would have tickled my funny bone when I was a kid. The moon is following me around without a word, without a sound. Wherever I go, whatever I do, the moon is bound to be there too. So right now we've got this sort of like wonderful, like wonderment that a child would experience. Wow, like whatever I'm doing. And it seems like it's heading in that direction. This is what I like about this poem. Seems like it's heading in the direction of like, the wonderful moon. It's always there up in the sky. Wherever I go, whatever I do, the moon is bound to be there too. I don't know why he is a pest or why he never seems to rest. The moon must have something else to do besides follow me around. Shoo! I don't know. Maybe I'm just a horny dad, but that tickles me. I like the idea that there's like this kid who's annoyed at the moon's always there. But it is that thing when you notice that no matter where you go, the moon is always in the same spot in the sky. Like when you're a kid, it's like it's always hanging around. And eventually you're like, I can see why earlier people were terrified of these things in the sky. Always there. Why they worshipped these things? It's always there. The moon. And so to sleep. So this is a Stan Berenstain poem that's getting ready for bed, and it's not a religious poem, even though we see the Cubs praying in the picture. This is a Stan Berenstain joint that I like. After screwed that one up. After bedtime prayers are said, I climb into my cozy bed, a fluffy pillow 'neath my head, and settle down for story time, for tales of wonder, tales that rhyme, tales of once upon a time, tales of blackbirds in a pie, of beanstalks reaching to the sky, tales of trolls and billy goats, tales of many-colored coats, tales of princesses and kings, tales of many wondrous things. But wondrous as these tales may be, I never hear the end, you see, because as Mom or Dad reads on, I begin to stretch and yawn. My sleepy eyes decide to close, and as I fall asleep, I say, oh, tomorrow is another day. I just like it. That's a nice little poem. And it's followed right up with a night prayer by Mike, which is a great way to end. I got a little bonus for this one. So it's called Night Prayer by Mike Berenstain. When I wake in the nighttime, I'm scared of spooky things, of ghosts and ghouls and monsters and creepy guys with wings. And so it never occurred when I didn't know that creepy guys with wings was a thing to be afraid of, but now I am. Like this poem put a new fear into my head. Ghosts and ghouls and monsters, that's one thing. Creepy guys, just the words creepy guys, like you wake up in the middle of the night. If you wake up in the middle of the night and there's a creepy guy in your room, that's horrifying, right? Like I'm right. Like, right? There's a creepy guy. Doesn't even matter if he has wings. Creepy guys with wings. Creepy guy is just an unsettling thing to say at bedtime. This is after bedtime. This is when you wake up in the nighttime. And there's a picture of like a storm outside with sister scared hugging mama. There's a brother bear scared in his bunk bed. And then the last picture is a beautiful beautiful day outside. But I know God is with me. He's sitting by my bed. I know his love surrounds me, his hand upon my head. When I wake up in the morning, the sun is bright and clear. The monsters are all sleeping now, but God is always near. So this poem says a few things. One, there are creepy guys with wings. They are always in your bedroom. The only reason they don't do whatever it is they want to do is because God is guarding you with his hand on your head. And when the morning comes, the monsters are literally still in your room. They're just sleeping. Like, you have this omniscient being who's protecting you, but the creepy guy is still there. Like, he's there. You just can't see him now because the monsters are all sleeping. That's your night. So when you wake up in the night, just know that the only thing standing between you and the creepy guy in your bedroom is the thin veil of belief that you carry surrounding you. That keeps the monster at bay until it falls asleep in the morning. And that's it. That's 15 poems and prayers from the Bear family to your family. And I really like this book. It's a book I've owned for quite a while, and I never really had a reason to pick it up and just read it. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I picked it up because I got the image of creepy guys with wings stuck in my head. I think it'd be funny if Mike continued the poem in a different direction. Like, it just got scarier and scarier and scarier and scarier, like for pages and pages. I know that would be counter to like what the Berenstain Bears are all about, but it would have made me laugh. So that's it. That's my bedtime book of poems and prayers, a little bit of story behind it, all the poems from in it. You can pick it up in hardback or digitally. Either way, it's worth getting. I think it's really worth getting. These are fun poems. If you're looking for some fun religious poems for your kids, little things to read before bedtime, things that they might be able to read to you or memorize, recite. It's fun. They're fun poems. They got a wry sense of humor. You get some classic Stan and Jan illustrations. You get some otherwise accessible Stan Berenstain lyrics. You get Mike Berenstain probably at like the top of his lyrical game. I don't know. It's a delightful book, and I really enjoyed it. So that's my bedtime book of poems and prayers. And you find out what street the Bears' schoolhouse is on. What was it again? I don't remember. What was it again? Write it down if you haven't already. I'm going to find it just so you can take this down. The schoolhouse is on Spruce and Main. Spruce and Main. So remember that. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being a part of this big dumb thing that I do called Deep in Bear Country, Berenstain Bearcast. Keep on sleeping. Keep on poeming. Keep on bedtiming and praying. And listen to my show and my other shows. And go to YouTube and look at me move and wiggle and shimmy and shake. Every once in a while, I read a story on there and post it for free because I'm just that kind of guy. And I'll see you all next time. Deep in Bear Country.